So railway franchising. Oh, it sounds a bit complicated, doesn't it? But it's really not. Let me explain. Railway franchising is the contracting of passenger services on the UK railways to private companies. It works by franchises such as South Eastern, South Western and Govia Thameslink Railway, being awarded by the government to TOCs or train operating companies via a competitive tendering process. The train operating company's name would usually have some reference to the franchise it runs on. Like the South Western franchise is operated as South Western Railway and the East Anglia franchise is operated as Greater Anglia. The owner of these franchises go under a separate name, being the name of their company. For example, Abellio, Arriva, Stagecoach, Govia, and First Group, to name a few. If you're also a bus enthusiast, you may have realised that a lot of the train operating company owners are also big bus operators as well. This is because when privatisation occurred, a lot of the companies that bid for these new franchise were already established bus companies, who already had their share in the public transportation market. Which does make sense, but it wasn't the intention when privatisation occurred. These franchises usually last around 7 years, but they can be extended due to the performance of the train operating company, with the franchises being awarded a geographic area or a service type for the operator to stick to. Railway franchising was created by the Railways Act in 1993. Being a part of the privatisation of British Rail, which came into effect in 1996, where it was previously owned by the government under the name British Rail. When it started, companies were awarded a franchise based on a pure cost basis. This meant that the company who received the highest premium or to receive the lowest subsidy would win the franchise. Since it was first launched, the system has reduced the number of franchises from 25 to 17 due to a series of different franchises merging together. In short, railway franchising is just the government picking from a list of companies that bidded to run the franchise, awarding the contract to the company that is best suited due to the agreements they had promised to deliver while in control of the franchise, and the one that is best value for money. Franchising seemed to be going well until Miss COVID came around, causing the whole system to jolt to a standstill to some extent. Income to these companies is created by fares from passengers using the trains, but there was no money being created as there were no passengers. So the government kindly stepped in and said, you know what guys, we'll help you out, you're going through a little bit of trouble because of the virus and all. So the government covered the losses perceived by the railway sector of a sum of £3.5 billion. This occurred back in March 2020, practically nationalising the whole railway system. With the government helping out, the private companies must have thought, oh, once this whole COVID thingy is over, we'll be back to running our franchises like before. But no. Government said, nope, we taking back our franchising scheme, providing the train operating companies with emergency recovery management agreements, which essentially sets targets and performance requirements for the train operator in exchange for a fee for running the service. Similar to a concession, which is seen in other transport services such as TfL Rail, London Overground, and the Manchester Metrolink. Even though these new agreements was a choice by the train operating company, it kind of wasn't. As, if they didn't agree to these new agreements by mid-December 2020, their government pandemic support would be terminated by January 2021. So it is really between not being paid and going bust, or being paid but being under stricter rules. I know which one I would pick. But for now, under the Emergency Recovery Management Agreement, operators are required to run an almost full service to assist social distancing for passengers who need to use the trains. Well, we don't really know what the new system is, as it's still being decided how the future of our railways is going to be run, as the Emergency Recovery Management Agreements are only in place as a transitional stage until the new system is announced. Most likely when the pandemic eases. But what we do know about this new system is that it's meant to create a simpler and more effective structure, whatever that means. The intention of the new system is also to require operators to coordinate better with each other and in running down the railways. I presume they mean in ticket costs. Keith Williams, the chairman of Royal Mail, was asked to review the chaotic mess of the railway system in 2018. He recently said that these new agreements represent the end of a complicated franchising system, demand more from the expertise and skills of the private sector, and ensure passengers return to a more punctual and coordinated railway. Well, from what I've understood, this new system isn't really a return to nationalised railways, but more of an in-between from what we've had for the last 25 years and a fully nationalised railway. Sadly, I wasn't alive when the railways were under government control, so it's hard for me to give a fair comparison. But I did like the variety of stock and liveries that came from railway privatisation. But a lot of others don't feel the same, as they feel the money wasted on constant rebranding should be spent somewhere else. I do agree privatisation has boosted the competition between companies and has increased the amount of investment into the railways, which obviously worked due to the increase in passengers since privatisation. However, in this case, privatisation may have not been the only factor that increased passenger numbers, as there were other factors as well. But overall, yes, privatisation did also increase passenger numbers. But I do understand that it has caused higher fares and an overall lower punctuality and increased rail subsidies. What do you think of railway franchising? And are you happy it's been scrapped? Anyways, thanks for watching. Government said, nope, we taking back our franchising scheme.